24 sister churches all throughout central Ohio and elsewhere. Probably as far south as we go now, South Point. There are actually three churches down along the river that are part of our network now, part of our association. So I went to South Point High School, right there along the river. Grew up in Chesapeake, Buffalo Creek Road. Yeah. All right, thank you. One person knows what that is. We have two. I told somebody one time I was in Chesapeake, they said, is that the town that was evacuated because of toxic waste? I said, I don't think so, but that may explain a few things, right? But we have seen you start this network of churches and grow, see God reach people who are far from Christ and literally change their lives. 180-some people baptized over the last 10 years. Incredible. And your pastor, Pastor Tony, nobody but another pastor knows what a pastor's life is like. In your life, you have stresses, you have ambitions, you have fears for your family. When you're the pastor, you have that for all the people in your church. It's an incredible responsibility, and he has borne it so well. So through his vision, through the vision that God placed on his heart, and he saw that materialize at every step of the way, we thank God for that. I thank God for him, for his encouragement, and for his leadership, and for Real Joy Community Church. I remember coming down, so in one weekend, I had two churches tell me they wanted me to come and visit. Both were meeting in a barn, right? So one of them was up in Mount Vernon, actually Mount Liberty, just north of Columbus. I was thinking it would be a place where, they would have the walls finished and nothing like that. So walk in, they were all sitting on hay bales. They were having church on Friday night. They had the slats on the barn that was built in the 1800s that you could throw a cat through, as they say. Well, this is what it means for a church to be meeting in a barn. So then Real Joy called me. Hey, we want you to come and visit. We're meeting in a barn. So I'm expecting the same kind of thing. Well, I walk in, the walls are up, right? It's a pole barn, but it's insulated. It's inside, right? None of the rain blowing through the walls. But from that time until today, 10 years to see what God has done is truly miraculous. As your pastor mentioned, most churches that start don't make it. You have a lot of church plans. Very few of those make it through 2 years, fewer 5 years, and fewer even 10 years. And I'm so excited about what the next 10 years look like. To see what God has done over the last 10 years. And it's because of God, and because of your pastor, and because of each of you walking together in unity to see what God has done. So God, in his word, worked with another group of people. That was Moses and the children of Israel, as he brought them out of Egypt towards the promised land. And that's where our text is for today. So I always start with my glasses on because people tell me I look more intelligent that way. I want you to keep this picture in your mind, and I'll be able to take them off and talk about a few other things. But in Deuteronomy chapter 8, this is the children of Israel, close to the end of their 40 years in the wilderness. God had promised them a promised land, and Moses was a deliverer who was to deliver them out of the promised land, out of slavery into the promised land. So we get it here at the end of those 40 years in Deuteronomy chapter 8. As many of you know, Deuteronomy, the word itself, Deutero, means second or copy, Namas is law, so it's a copy of the law. You see the Ten Commandments first in Exodus chapter 20. We see it repeated in Deuteronomy chapter 5. So in many ways, Deuteronomy is a summation, but also a copy of things that God has already done. So here in chapter 8, we're going to see three principles for the next 10 years. Three things that enable the children of Israel to leave slavery, get to the promised land, that are also true of Real Joy Community Church. There are things that you've done over the last 10 years, and God expects you and wants you to do those over the next 10 years. But Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 1 says, every commandment which I commanded you today, you shall always obey, that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land of which the Lord swore to your fathers. I didn't know your pastor was going to announce the purchase of land, but this fits just perfectly, doesn't it? Yeah. And you shall remember that the Lord your God led you on all the way these 40 years in the wilderness. Why did he do that? Two interesting things. He says to humble you and to test you. That doesn't seem like a good time, does it? To know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. So he humbled you, allowed you to hunger and fed you with manna which you did not know, nor your fathers did know, that he might make you know that man shall not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. So you should know in your heart that as a man chastises his son, so the Lord your God chastens you. So the first thing God wants you to remember is to remember the wilderness. You say, hold on a minute, right? That wasn't a good time. In the wilderness, they were there next to the Red Sea. It didn't look like they could pass. The river was flowing from its banks. Behind them was the Egyptian army. That's not a good spot. But God delivered them on dry land through the Red Sea. Remember the wilderness. God instructs us to remember the difficult times in our lives. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it that you went through such a horrific, horrible time in your life that you're just supposed to forget it? Absolutely not. Because if you forget it, you're sealing it off and not allowing God to work through you in a way that he wants to work through you. God never wastes a hurt. Did you remember a time when you were hurting? When you thought you're not going to see another day? When you thought to yourself, Lord, I'm going to die. I've been there. The Apostle Paul has been there. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, he says, we despaired even of life. Which means we thought we were going to die. But in those difficult times, there's a grounding and a deliverance that can only come from God. The same God who was, as he delivered you through that difficult time, he will be as he takes you through the next difficult time. Because the difficulties aren't over. But through the trust that you have in the Lord Jesus Christ, he builds your faith in order to take that next step. And that's the way that he works. Don't forget the difficult times. Don't pretend like they never happened. John Eldridge, who wrote the book Wild at Heart, calls it your wound. Have you been wounded? Somebody injured you? Done you wrong? Abused you? In many different ways? Remember. You're thinking, what kind of craziness is that? Because of those things that have happened to you, God wants to use those things to live out his purpose that he has implanted in your life. The strongest purpose comes from a source of pain. And when you have endured that pain, and you've allowed God to comfort you through that pain, that, to a large measure, you understand what your purpose is. So one of the things I do, I'm the CEO of Stowe Mission up in Columbus, Ohio. Your church generously helps Stowe Mission. Last year, 138,000 meals were served to needy people free. We have free dental clinic. Right? We have dentists who volunteer. Ohio State University dental students come and do their clinicals there. Just this past year, through a collaboration with Columbus State Community College, we now do dental cleaning. Their dental hygiene department comes down to Stowe and helps a lot of people who couldn't get help otherwise. We have a vision clinic where you can come get an exam for free, and you get a voucher for a free pair of glasses. There's a lady who gave a gift to Stowe. I called her up just to thank her. She said, will y'all help me? I said, we did. And she said, I'm 86 years old. And my husband and my stepson died within 9 months. And I didn't have anything. But y'all helped me get glasses. I'm calling her on the phone. She said, I'm wearing them right now. Yes, we have tutoring. We have kids from the inner city come by that don't know who their daddy is and haven't seen their mom for a while. Where they live in a house where there's been a rotation of adults living there and not living there. Addiction, abuse, suicide, homicide. We got some guys coming by now. Some of our guys are teaching them chess, you know, the board game. But some of our younger guys said, well, they're coming here to learn chess. So no, they're not. They're looking for a dad. took me a while to figure it out. Your purpose is something that draws you to the expression of that, even if you don't have clarity around what that exactly is. Well, I grew up in southern Ohio, so I was born in D.C. We relocated to Huntington, West Virginia, and we got a house in southern Ohio. My dad was a mechanic, right? Heard of PK's, Preacher's Kids, MK's, Missionary Kids. I'm an MK, my father was a mechanic, right? Ain't no missionaries in the family, in the Halpin family. So I had 4 younger brothers. 2 youngest ones were identical twins, both of them special needs. Took a lot of money that we didn't have. So when I think about church, I think about folks from the church bringing food to my house. My dad was working 2 jobs. My mom worked part-time at Kmart for a while. I got home on Saturday from wrestling tournaments and saw that our car was in the driveway. Station wagon was all dinged up. So my mom was coming home from Kmart down New 52. It's New 52 because it's only been there about 50 years, right? Make a left on the Buffalo Creek Road, and on Buffalo Creek, hit some ice and went off the road. Back into the tree. That was Saturday. So Sunday, we didn't go to church for the first time that I could remember. Because there wasn't any way to get there. They had 1 car and it's sold, and they had enough insurance to cover somebody else, not to cover your car. So I remember being 10, 11 years old and seeing that Sunday afternoon a couple of deacons from the church come up, park on the dirt road across the house, and came in and talked to my dad and gave him the keys to a car that church had voted from used car lots. That church had voted to buy that one. From the church owned a used car lot. Do you think that has something to do with what I do today?
Absolutely.
Do you think that has something to do with why I feel it's important for all Christians to be generous? The guy gave it to me. I'm supposed to give it away. Not for me. I'll tell you, I hated poverty. Some of my earliest memories were standing in the creek with a snake. Everybody know what a snake is? We're on a septic system, right? My dad's in the basement. Is it clear yet? I'm standing. No. Digging this hole. Some guys from church helped dig down to the top of the septic tank. It's about 8 feet. Remember watching those guys from church and my dad with shovelfuls of dirt, putting in a 5-gallon bucket, going up out of the hole. So 1 or 2 in the morning. Because church people loved us. And Jesus loved us. Remember the wilderness. Remember the times I went to school with those Kmart tennis shoes that were ripped out right here along the part of your foot. So you can give stuff to inner city kids to make sure they don't have to do it. Remember the wilderness. God created us, our body has 270 bones at birth, and then some of those fuse together. As an adult, you have 206 bones. 206 bones in your body. About triple the number of those are muscles. So they were from 650 on up to 800, depending on how you count that. Well, if you look at the Bible talks a lot about your future hope, doesn't it? About where we're going to go. And also talks about remembering the past. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to push away from the past. So all of the muscles in our body are pull muscles. They pull. But like when I'm flexing here, you can see it a lot better if I didn't have this jacket on. There's a very large bicep under this coat. So when I'm flexing my bicep, just take my word for it, that's not what I'm relaxing my tricep, right? I'm not pushing with my tricep. When I put my arm back, I'm flexing, I'm pulling with my tricep and releasing with my bicep. Like we should allow God to pull us to that future hope and not take away from the past. What would my life be like if I pretended like I was just poor? I would have a distorted view of who I am. Because me, like you, my past is always present, but it does not determine your future. Unless you let it. I was in school, graduate school in Fort Worth, Texas, and a friend of mine was going to Los Angeles to start a church. Several hundred miles, 29 hours in a Ryder truck. Steve Smith, Carlos Garcia. So this fellow went to help him move. One of the goals of seminary, that's the graduate school for preachers, one of the goals is to graduate before other guys that have very heavy stuff graduate, so you don't have to help them move. I'll move more pianos, lasts me a lifetime. So this guy, everything he had was heavy. So we go to his house to move him. We're moving to Los Angeles from Fort Worth, Texas, and up his pack. Stuff still on the walls, right? Lamps. Remember grabbing a lamp like, ugh, that's heavier than any lamp I've ever seen. So they thought a great idea would be to get boxes about this size, right? You have fewer boxes, you fill and put all the stuff in there. Hey, what are you telling? We had this piano doll with us, right? We took out there, being three guys in our 20s. Once we got there after 29 hours, decided to goof around, right? So you've probably seen that piano doll. It has a 2x4 frame that has wheels, casters, for those. But if you get on that thing on your stomach, and you push away from the wall, it just goes all over the place. But if you have a rope tied to it, to the destination where you want it to go, and you pull yourself with the rope, it goes right on track. A lot of people push it away from their path. I'm not going to be like my father was. I'm not going to tell anybody where I'm from. I'm not going to let them have the best of me. And then your life careens out of control, and you don't know where it's at. Remember the wilderness. The entire book of Deuteronomy is a reminder for us to remember. Remember the lean times as a church. Remember the cold services. Remember the bad parking. Remember a bullwhip. Remember. Not that God says you're going to do that exact same thing again, but it says here in Deuteronomy chapter 8 that the reason he did that was to humble us and to test us. That's the lesson. To test us. You know, some people are wondering, can I trust God? That's not the most important question to God. God knows he's trustworthy. Scriptures tell us that he is faithful even when we aren't faithful. The question God has, can I trust you? And if I can't trust you in those difficult times, I'm not going to trust you in the good times. If you're not faithful in the small things, God won't give you the greater things. But you have been faithful in those small things. And God has greater things on the horizon. The Real Joy Community Church, and it goes for you too. If you'll follow him, if you'll trust him. That doesn't mean that life gets better and better and easier and easier. It doesn't mean that at all. So you heard how I grew up, right? Went to college, went to graduate school, went to pastorate church, Southside Baptist Church, area a lot like Stowe Mission, inner city, people getting shot. Then God took me from there to go to Dublin Baptist Church, which was the wealthiest area in Central Ohio. For Muirfield, country club, golf villages there. And then from there, which was a major adjustment. I remember my dad coming to visit when I was on staff there, associate pastor of youth and education. My dad's like, what are you doing? What are you talking to? What are you doing? You're not supposed to be. I said, there's no stadiums out there in the parking lot. Yeah, I know. Huge adjustment. And then from there, God moved me to Champion Forest Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. At that time, the 75th largest church in America. I was associate pastor of preaching. I preached Wednesday night, Sunday when the senior pastor wasn't there, senior staff. When I went there at 32 years old, a guy asked me, what's it like to be at the top of your profession at 32 years old? Well, never thought about it. I was there a couple years and I got promoted to be over all the education area. We had 6 full-time ministers and I had 150 employees who were under me. Our Sunday school average was 3,321. We had 221 Sunday school classes I was in charge of all. And then an opportunity came in Central Ohio to reach people with the gospel in what was at that time the 15th largest city in the U.S. We were already helping my parents financially. because I could do it at that church. Right? So I left that church, moved to Columbus, Ohio, 16 years ago. Took a massive pay cut. Does that make sense? So since then, God has added 75 churches to our network, raised millions of dollars, bought that building, got 7 directors at Stowe now. 3 years ago, we just had 2. Looking at doing our second location out of Stowe. Now, God could have done that without me, but I would have missed it. If I were trying to pretend like I've grown out of that, or I don't understand that, so down on Parsons Avenue, I feel all right, right? Some people are scared to drive down there. Yeah. I had this one guy come up in the parking lot. Hey, can you give me some money? I said, hey, I'll go inside and get somebody to help. He's like, what are you doing? I said, man, you better stand down. What? I said, you better back up. I said, I told you I'm going to go in and get somebody to help you, and that's what I'll do, but you back off. Okay? I know how to handle those guys, right? Because I've lived it. Remember to go. God wants to work through your wound. Not pretend like you don't have it. Not pretend like your wound is not really your wound. There's a depth that you understand when you allow God to heal that wound that you can't understand by reading somebody else's book. Best leaders in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, or NA, Narcotics Anonymous, are people that came out of it. I never did that. I can read the book, I can teach you what the book says, but there's nothing like hearing it from somebody who's walked that path. So whatever path you have walked, God intends for you to help other people walk that same path. Remember the wilderness. And not pretend like what really happened to you didn't really happen to you. So that's what he tells us. The second thing he tells us is to follow his ways. Right here in verse 6, Deuteronomy chapter 8. It says, therefore you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God, to walk in his ways and to fear him. One of the first designations for God's people, for Christians, was out of the book of Acts. It's called the people of the way. Acts chapter 9 verse 2 says, then Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked letters from him to the synagogues of Damascus, so that if he found any who were of the way, whether men or women, he might bring them down to Jerusalem. What? So we're in God's ways, not your ways. His ways are not my ways. His thoughts are not my thoughts. His ways. Psalm chapter 95 verse 10 says, for 40 years I was angry with that generation. God said, I said, there are people whose hearts go astray. They have not known my ways. Or it appears 74 times in the book of Proverbs. What is your way? The way you act. The way you act when you're putting your best foot forward. The way you react when you're under stress. The way you habitually interact with others. Proverbs 19:3 says, the foolishness of man subverts his way. Proverbs 20:14, bad says the buyer, but when he goes his way, then he boasts. Proverbs 21:8, the way of the guilty man is crooked. The way of the guilty man is crooked, but as for the pure, his conduct is upright. Proverbs 21:16, a man who wanders from the way of understanding will rest in the assembly of the dead. What are some of God's ways? Some of God's ways are that he is going to deal with you through a different method than he dealt with you before. The problem with a lot of churches, and why most churches seal off at about 70 people or so, is because they saw God do some things in their past, and he thinks he's going to do those exact same things in the future. It doesn't work like that. If you look at the example of Moses, you remember when Moses got the word to go back into Egypt to tell Pharaoh to let his people go? What did he see? The burning bush. Right? How many times do you see a burning bush in the Bible? One. That's it. But here's what happened with most churches. They had a burning bush experience, right? Wasn't a literal burning bush. So they saw God do something that they couldn't even imagine. And then they spend the rest of their years waiting for him to do the same kind of thing again. That's your way. That's not God's way. There's comfort in that, but there's not reality in it. That's not how that works. test you to see if you were faithful to what he wanted to do next. Because at this time, that was a huge step for you and for you as a church. And you took that step. So is God going to go back to the previous step one and replay the tape? No. You are at a different level now. You have a lot more people now. You have 10 years of history now. You have 180 people that have been baptized now. God wants to take that level of success only serves as a platform to get to the next level that God wants to take. Remember his ways, don't remember your ways. One of God's ways is that go means go, even when you don't know. I made that up. Yeah. So Joshua chapter 1 verse 2, after passing of Moses, said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I'm giving to them, the children of Israel. To Abram, Genesis chapter 12 verse 1 says, now the Lord had said to Abram, get out of your country. So Abram departed. God said, go. He left. Now this next verse, Hebrews 11:8, is one of the most comforting verses in the Bible to me. Here it is. Hebrews 11:8. By faith, Abraham believed when he was called to go out to the place which he would afterward receive as an inheritance. Here it is. And he went out not knowing where he was going. Your way is that we have to figure out all the steps to get there and how this thing's going to turn out. That's not God's way. God's way is, I say go, you go. And then when I tell you to go again, you go again. Because you see, for us, we don't want to take step one until we know what step 2, 3, and 4 is, right? We want to know where this thing is headed. It doesn't work like that. Because often, let's say I'm walking down the hallway here, there's another hallway there. It's not until I take step 1 that I find out step 2 is over there. I could have never seen step 2 before I took step 1. Some of you are waiting on all the steps before you take the steps. God has never worked like that. He gives you the future hope. He shows you the potential vision. And he says, go. And I'll show you. Even when Abram was offering Isaac up on the altar, go to a mountain where I will show you. There's something in me. Remember that story? I loaded up the wood, loaded up the fire, had the knife, had the gun. It was over in Genesis chapter 20. His son said, Dad, where's the sacrifice? God had already told Abram to sacrifice his son. Can you imagine his only son? The promise of generations. 25 years from the time it was promised till he was born. Dad, where's the sacrifice? And he said, God will provide. Now what he was thinking, according to Hebrews chapter 11, Abraham thought he would go ahead and kill him so that God would resurrect him. But you know that's not what happened. He went to the altar, put Isaac on the altar on the wood. You know, he had the fire ready, had the knife, just about ready to kill him. God says, hold on. There's a ram in the thicket, that's the sacrifice. Abraham had no idea how that thing was going to play out. But actually he had one idea. And that one idea is that God would resurrect him from the dead. So Abraham, the father of Judaism, Abraham believed God and counted unto him for righteousness, had one idea about how that would happen, and he was dead wrong. So don't try to figure out what step 3 is until you're willing to take step 2 and step 1. Right? So follow his ways. Remember wilderness, follow his ways, and lastly, he tells us to observe his warnings. In Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 11, it says, beware that you do not forget the Lord your God. How do you do that? By not keeping his commandments, his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you. Lest, when you have eaten and are full, and have built beautiful houses and dwell in them, when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold are all multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, when your heart is lifted up, and you forget the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, who led you through that great and terrible wilderness, in which were fiery serpents and scorpions and thirsty land where there was no water, who brought water for you out of the flinty rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, that he might humble you and that he might test you, for you to do good in the end. Didn't you say in your their heart, my power and the might of my hand have gave me this wealth. You don't do it. You can see things of Real Joy Community Fellowship that only God could do. So let's give God credit. God did it. I'm grateful that I was able to help some. Your pastor led, a lot of work, right? But if the hand of God were not here, this wouldn't be happening. He gives us a warning. But just a couple warnings. Warning number one is you never shine when you whine. You never shine when you whine. We don't take time to read the passage, but you probably know about the story of Korah. Korah felt like Moses wasn't doing the right thing. So Moses, you said we were going to the promised land. We've been wandering around out here for 30-some years and nothing yet. So something's wrong with you. That's not what God said. And you know the story how the earth opened up and swallowed them whole for complaining and for grumbling. Over in Numbers chapter 11, verse 4, it says, the rabble with them began to crave other food. And again, the Israelites started wailing and said, oh, we have eaten. We remember the fish we had in Egypt at no cost. Also the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, garlic. But now we've lost our appetite. We never eat anything but this manna. They were feeding those Israelites. But they wanted to go back to the low-fat, low-cholesterol diet of the leeks and onions. How much sense does that make? God says, quit whining. So not only did the sons of Korah get swallowed up, but 250 other people did. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3 says, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. I was in Venezuela a few years ago on a mission trip. They said the number one verse for churches there is out of Psalm 133:1, which says, how good and pleasant is it when brothers live together in unity. Jesus in John 17 prayed that we would all be one. Well, how are you one? How do you have unity? You don't have grumbling and complaining. Philippians chapter 2, verse 14 says, do everything without complaining or arguing. Now, complaining is more of a murmuring kind of, in music they call it a sotto voce, where you're speaking kind of under breath. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they painted that dog. And did they think about parking before we got here today? You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of difficult for me personally. In my family, sarcasm was viewed as a spiritual gift, right? It's just, we're going to let you have it in some kind of way, and you may not even see it coming, but it's not how we're supposed to be. I remember going to visit one of our churches, and I don't say things about what they choose, what colors they choose, carpets. You know churches don't split over doctrine. You know what they usually split over? Who's running this place? It's like Korah. Korah says, hey, I think I need to be running this place. Every now and then I'll have a staff member come and complain about their senior pastor. You know what I tell them? You go pastor the church. And then come back talking. Right? So I buy gasoline on a fairly regular basis. Don't you? As a matter of fact, I drove down here my life most of my life. I don't think about it a lot. I've been to, I don't know, hundreds of gas stations in my life, different places I've lived. I have never once gone into the manager of that gas station and said, hey, I think you guys should have put this pump over there. You're done. Or hey, you need to put the Cheetos right next to the cashier. Hey, you'll get beef jerky. You should put the beef. Why in the world would I think, just because I've gone to gas stations hundreds or thousands of times, that I know how to run the place? But in church, it seems somewhat different. That church I was talking about in Texas, the senior pastor I served right under him, had grown that church from 500 to 5,000 in average attendance on Sunday morning. Wouldn't you think a guy kind of knows what he's doing? We had 3 guys, all in the under 30s, that have been listening to cassette tapes. It's been a while. But some of the preacher, 210 tapes on the Gospel of Matthew. And suddenly they thought they knew more about how to run a church than we did. So we had to come to Jesus. got to knock it off. We're not putting up with it. The leader is not perfect, but he is the leader. The leader's not infallible, but he is the one that God has used. He is the one who has risked. He is the one who exercised faith. He's the one that saw this day 10 years ago. We were looking for a place for the Stowe mission. We had a place that was too small. They decided years ago we needed 15,000 square feet. Right? So we found this used to be a YMCA back in 1962, built in. It was in foreclosure. They just put $250,000 worth of HVAC equipment in there, 15,000 square feet, price tag $500,000, making us fit, right? So we called a bunch of our guys from around the association. We looked through there. Man, this has got to be it. We're on our hands and knees thanking God for that building. So we put in our offer, $500,000. Then got word back about 6 weeks later that we lost the bid. Because while we were on our hands and knees praying, there was another group walking around that building at the same time looking at it and saw us down. So we lost the bid because we only bid $500,000. They bid $505,000. Now, how do you think I felt? Lord, how did I not see that coming? Do you not want to use me? But thanks be to God, I didn't have people bright. They were right there with me. I don't know what happened. And then we were, what, is this just a pipe dream? I mean, is this really never going to happen? We just cooked it up in our heads and it's some crazy thing and we'll go to our deathbeds thinking, I got crazy. In 2008, I was calling the guy down in another office because the network had voted to buy one. I said, by the way, we're looking for 15,000 square foot building. He said, I got one. He said, it's at 888 Parsons, which happens to be right across the street from where we've been for 20-some years. He said, but nobody knows it's for sale. There's no sign up. There's nothing on the website. Because it's a body shop now, it's owned by Jeff May, Bob Chevrolet. So all the guys in there that work on cars were going to lose their job. I'm like, that's it. So we put in a bid. Kroger had bid on it, and just countered. Same time we put a bid in, you like what we were doing? Sold it to us for $10,000 less than Kroger bid. $1.3 million, $629,500 to buy the building, another $700,000 to fix it. The trouble was, we didn't have any money. After I got there, we were helping churches like we helped this church, bought some laptops for a church plant. We had $1,400 left in a checking account. There was some money in savings. Through God's grace, we had 600 people in banquet that committed $730,000 over 3 years. We had that banquet in 2008. Remember what it was like then? A lot of us dropping out financially. And then we had to pay it off in 5 years. God did it like that once. They'll do other things again, but don't expect them to do the same thing. And don't complain when it doesn't look like it. I had our lead dentist, Danny Stowe, we talked about it after we got overbid. He said, and this is something for a dentist, he said, I felt like somebody kicked me in the teeth. Yeah. It's 2 more years till we found out all this stuff. You never shine when you want. And then the second and last one is don't forget who really did it. So don't say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gained me this wealth. Because God did it. And how do we forget? It's not that you're going to forget how it happened. But the way you forget it, according to the scriptures, is you forget it when you don't keep His commandments, His judgments, and His statutes. You see, if I'm not obeying God, I'm forgetting what He has done. Because if He has actually done it, and He is God, then I'm going to listen to Him. I'm going to do what He wants to do. I'm going to follow His commandments and His judgments, because He's God. Now, if I start thinking I did it, that's when I go out on my own. Because you know that sin is where you think you know more than God. Sin in your life shows up in an area where you think God is being unreasonable. Well, God, I know you say not to steal, but I'm working in this company. I don't have much money. They got a lot of money. They'll never miss it. You're not trusting God. You're not trusting God to provide. You're thinking you can cook up an idea on your own and then you get it and then you satisfy all the needs that you think you have. It doesn't work like that. Look what God gave them. Verses 3 and 4. He says, you would have starved to death, paraphrase, if I hadn't fed you. Your clothes lasted a lot longer. 40 years of clothes didn't wear out. You know, sometimes I think about those little baby booties, you know. 40 years later, I don't know how they did that. You didn't get sick. Your foot did not swell. God has done an incredible work for Real Joy Community Fellowship. I work with a lot of churches. Most of them don't make it. Sometimes it's a lack of evangelism. Sometimes it's all the right money. A variety of reasons. Sometimes they're underfunded. So when God does do something like He's done here, we know that it's God. And know that the unity that you have had as a church over these last 10 years, God expects that to continue. Walked into one of our churches, as I was mentioning earlier, they were redoing it, and half the ceiling was painted pink. I'm thinking, I was thinking a lot of that. But I kept my mouth shut. Right? I had enough sense by that time to know I'm not complaining, I'm not griping. See, the test of not complaining is not complaining when you really hate it, right? If everything's going okay, there's nothing to complain about. But it's when something's going bad or you think it's goofy, then you don't complain. That's the real test of complaining. All right, keep my mouth shut. Well, then I found out later that the painters were using this special kind of paint. You know, if you ever painted white over white, it's really hard to see where the line is. They use a special kind of paint that goes on paint and then it dries white. Isn't that something? Now, what kind of goofball would I look like, right? Complain about that paint hanging on the ceiling. When you follow God, He spares you from a whole lot of embarrassment. But you got to follow Him. So the risks you as a body have taken over the last 10 years, are you willing to risk again? Are you willing to go again? Are you willing to step up again? Pastor Tony and that group of men on the first day had not done that. Where would you be today? Just as you've come behind, you are now the lead group. There's another group of people that need Jesus. That need to know that a church is the place you go where people love you and will take care of you and help you. But if you don't step out and make room for them, you're telling them to forget it. So the same way those that have gone on before you, you are now those who need to go on before the next group. Don't take risks. Don't take, not jawing, right? Not complaining, not goofballing around, but leaning into the preferred future that God has. And as you enable Him to heal that wound, that He will use that for the greater good and the greater ministry impact of Real Joy Community Fellowship. You're in the midst of a miracle. There aren't many churches that ever even have going programs, right? Very few. There aren't many churches that start and make it 10 years. And then to go to another place to buy land and see what God has for the next step. That's the program. Just as the children of Israel. You think, how could they not see that? They crossed the Red Sea on dry land, right? They were hungry, they had manna to eat, and they're still broken. You look at it, well, how can they do it? But then I look at my own life. You know? How can I confront where God is taking me from where I am now? So I'd like you to bow your head and